One of the most common complaints I hear about people and their PCs is how slow it is. I mean, I get it. We don't have time to sit around and wait for it to start up, open programs, and download some stuff. But these complaints are often followed up by people saying they need to buy a new computer because their old computer is, well, too old. This is a mistake for most people, and the age of your computer has less to do with performance than you might think, which I'll demonstrate later. No, the main reason for a slow system is an old, cluttered install of Windows, and one major component that should always be upgraded. Welcome to the channel, I'm Jared, and you're watching JTech Workshop. I hope to teach you a thing or two about computers today. A quick note, this video is going to be aimed at your everyday computer user. If you build your own gaming computers, you frequent many of the PC-related subreddits, or often find yourself arguing with strangers on the internet about how PC gaming is better than consoles, this video isn't for you. If, however, you're looking to speed up that aging computer and aren't sure where to start, you're in the right place. This magical upgrade I'm talking about is an SSD, or solid-state drive. This device stores all of the files on your computer, from your operating system, to your important documents, to even your funny cat memes. Before SSDs were as common as they are today in PCs, we used hard drives. Now you may hear that term used interchangeably between the two, and while they do accomplish the same task, one of them does it way better than the other. Hard drives were the norm in PCs up until about 10 years ago when SSDs started showing up. But even then, it's only been in the last few years that SSDs have become the standard, and it's still common to find hard drives in lower-end systems and older computers. Now, what's so bad about a hard drive, and what makes an SSD so much better? To understand the difference, it's best to have an idea of how a hard drive works in the first place. There's a little disk called the platter that has the data physically stored on it. When saving that data, it has to put the pieces all over that platter wherever it can find space. Now this takes time to spin up and also time to find places to put the pieces of data. When you want that file back, it has to do the reverse. It has to spin up, find all of those pieces it saved, assemble them, and then give you the file. As you use your drive, it'll become fragmented, where the open areas become more and more random as the drive has to search for places to store that data. And this is why your computer seems to slow down over time. The whole time your hard drive is searching around, the CPU is just sitting around waiting for that data before it can go on to the next task. This is what makes your system feel slow. Think of it like you have a Lego set that builds a car. And once you get that set, you take all the pieces and put them into all different rooms in your house. Then one day, you decide you want to build that Lego set. But now you need to go to all the different rooms in your house and track down every piece to put together before you can build the set. That's what your hard drive's like. And the more cluttered or fragmented your drive is, the more it's like a house on hoarders where it's really difficult to find things and it'll take you some time. Now there is a process you can perform on your hard drive that will help some called defrag. The problem is this can take hours to complete and it'll never make your drive feel as fast as it was on a fresh install. When it comes to an SSD, none of this is true. There's no moving parts, nothing has to spin up, and the data is just there when your computer needs it. It's always a nice, clean, and organized house, almost like Marie Kondo's living inside your computer, and that sparks joy. Even the cheapest SSD will be light years faster than a consumer hard drive. Now, if SSDs are so great, why aren't they in every computer, you might say? That's a great question, and the answer is cost. It wasn't too long ago that a decent sized SSD was multiple times the cost of a comparable hard drive, and it's only been in the last couple years that SSD prices have dropped to the point where they're comparable now to hard drives. In this day and age, there's no reason to not have an SSD, but there are still some systems out there running hard drives. Even Apple had hard drives in their MacBook Pros until 2015 and their iMacs until 2019. So how do you determine if your PC has a hard drive? I guess first off, how old is it? Older systems are more likely to have a hard drive in them, but don't worry, those can benefit just as much from an SSD upgrade. You might be able to feel it spinning up when you first turn on your machine, or you might hear that distinctive sound it makes when it's reading and writing data. If you're still unsure, you might just have to open it up and take a look. It's not too hard, and most systems can be opened up with just a couple screws in terms of laptops. Desktops, you most likely just need to pop off a side panel and take a peek inside. SSDs come in a couple of different form factors, from the standard 2.5-inch one here to the M.2 stick of gum. We're going to be focusing on the 2.5-inch as this is the most likely form factor for your system. If you had the special slot needed for the M.2, most likely you already have an SSD in that system. So once you determine you have a hard drive, it's time to throw that thing in the trash. Actually, no, don't do that. You probably have personal data on there. The great thing about this upgrade is that it's not destructive to your previous drive. You just take out the old one and put the new one in. And if you ever find a reason you need to revert back, you can just plug in the old drive and it'll all boot up and your files will be there like nothing happened. So this sounds good and all, but how much of an increase in performance can we actually expect? Well, to put it bluntly, it's hella faster. I'm not exaggerating that this is the #1 upgrade you can do to keep a PC running and usable. To demonstrate this, I'm going to be setting up 2 older laptops running both an SSD and a hard drive. I'll be using a couple of older systems to test and to show you that it's not really the age of a system that slows it down. And for most basic tasks, you'd be hard pressed to find a difference in performance. The first computer we're going to take a look at is a Dell Latitude 7440 from 2014, which is absolutely ancient in terms of computer standards. To go even further, we'll be testing out an IBM ThinkPad T60P. I've actually done an in-depth review of this system previously, so check that out if you're interested. This laptop is from 2006 and features a classic Core 2 Duo chip that may have been high-end at the time, but now is considered a relic of the past. Please note, all of this testing will apply to a desktop PC as well. Using either of these systems today should be painfully slow, right? To test, I'll install a fresh version of Windows 10 on a 7200 RPM hard drive as well as an SSD. We'll test the cold boot time to open apps, and we'll even run a read-write test to get some objective numbers. Then I'll perform a more subjective usability test and just see how it feels in everyday tasks. And remember, the hard drive times are going to be the best case scenario, being a fresh Windows install on a relatively fast drive. Side note, if you're going to be tackling this yourself, you're going to need a Windows install drive. Keep an eye out for a step-by-step video where I go through installing your new SSD, installing Windows, and configuring it afterwards. The first thing I wanted to test was how long it took to turn the system on from being completely off, or what's called a cold boot. I think we've all been there before, waiting literal minutes before you can actually get to your desktop and do anything. For the Dell, it took 32 seconds on the hard drive, but only 21 seconds for the SSD. The ThinkPad showed a huge increase, taking 51 seconds from the hard drive, but a mere 28 seconds on the SSD, almost twice as fast. Next, I wanted to look at opening different web browsers. I tried Chrome, Edge, and Internet Explorer, and you can see the SSD is always 2 to 3 times faster. I then ran a drive benchmark tool. This gives actual performance data for each drive. This huge discrepancy in the graph doesn't always translate directly into that level of performance increase, but there's no denying the system can read and write many times faster to the SSD than the hard drive. The ThinkPad, while still showing a significant difference, isn't as big as the Dell because of the limitations of the connection itself. The connection used for these drives is SATA, and while backwards compatible, it's gotten faster over the years. So the SSD is actually being bottlenecked by the connector. It can feed data faster than the connector can actually transfer it. The final test was to just use the computer normally, browsing sites, opening things up, just get the feel. Despite the age of both these systems, when using the SSD, they felt fine. Sure, they aren't as fast as, say, my M1 MacBook Air or my gaming desktop, but you could use these every day without issue and never get too frustrated. All of this is to say, if you remove the bottlenecks, your system can work at the peak of its ability, and it turns out you don't actually need that much power under the hood to just casually use a computer. So I hope you found this video helpful, and hopefully you were able to breathe some new life into your old computer. It's honestly very rare to have to ever replace a system due to age alone. When it comes to tasks like word processing, internet browsing, and even checking email, most systems are up to the task as long as they have a good drive. With the right components and keeping everything up to date, your older or low-end system will serve you well for years before you even need to think about upgrading it. A fresh install of Windows and an SSD are really all you need to keep your computer happy. If you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. If you have any specific questions, be sure to leave them in the comments, and if you have any requests related to computer upgrades or maintenance, leave that down below too. Alright, that's going to do it for now, but until next time, thanks for watching.